What's up, guys? I'm Cody Brockway, and you are back here for another episode of Brockway's Vinyl Bites. That's right. And of course, if you read from the title of this video, we are once again talking about my favorite band on the planet, among many, but Genesis are my number one. You know what it is if you've been following Brockway's Vinyl Bites. Diehard Genesis fan. I appreciate all eras of the band, and what we're talking about today is the worst song from every Genesis album, from 1971 to 1991. So this covers the bases of Phil Collins being in the band in one way or another, whether he's just the drummer or he's the drummer and singer. So that excludes a couple of records. There's From Genesis to Revelation, which is just not a great album to begin with. There's Trespass, which is a good album, but it's a stepping stone to where they would get with Nursery Cryme and so on and so forth. And then it leaves off at the very end of the Genesis story, Calling All Stations, which is not my favorite. But anyway, so we're going to start off 1971. And actually, before we get into it, I want to let you guys know that I will be featuring once again on Ian B. About's channel to talk about the newly remixed and remastered The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway Dolby Atmos mix that comes in the new CD Blu-ray box. That's going to be happening in a few days, so be on the lookout for that. I'll be sharing it here on the channel too. It'll be a lot of fun. So, starting off in 1971, you've got the static lineup now, at least for a few albums, of Steve Hackett, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks, and Nursery Cryme. Now, there isn't really a worst song on this album, and you're going to find that with a lot of these albums, that I don't really have a worst song per se, but it's like, it's the least best song in comparison to everything else that's on each record. Big fan of Genesis all the way through, and this album is remarkable. If I had to pick my least favorite song on this, it is Seven Stones. Although I do like it, I listen to it when I'm listening to the full album, but it just doesn't really stand up against stuff like Fountain of Salmachus or The Musical Box, that sort of thing. With that said, it does have its place, and it does deserve to be on here. Yes, Seven Stones. I heard the old man tell its tale. And to its redeeming, for its redeeming qualities, it has some really interesting chord changes from Tony Banks, as these songs tend to do. The same with the next album, Foxtrot from 1972. Genesis really were gluing here. They really were in a stride through this record, and it shows. This is a masterpiece album. 10 out of 10. It can't really get better. With that said, my least favorite song is Timetable. It kind of follows the Seven Stones thing, where it's that sort of old English folk style storytelling, and that's fine. Once again, it has its place. I mean, obviously they are an English band from the 70s, right? But in comparison to Supper's Ready or Can Utility and the Coastliners or literally every other song on the album, it's I don't know, like that song, as good as it is, it's always ranked lower in the Genesis catalog for me personally. If I was to rank all the Genesis songs from every album, it would come somewhere near the middle or bottom. But yeah, otherwise, still a great record. It's not a skip track by any means. I still listen to it. It's my least favorite on this album. So yeah, Timetable. And what do we got next? This one was hard because this is my favorite Genesis album of all time, and there's not really anything that's clearly my least favorite on this, because I think the whole thing is just an absolute masterwork, and this was really hard to do this. But it was one of the times on Selling England by the Pound that my guy, Phil Collins, and look, this one's signed by Steve Hackett. Maybe I should hold this one up. You see, I absolutely adore this record. It's my favorite Genesis album. I just love it so much. But if I have to pick a least favorite song on this, I'm not going for one of the instrumentals. I'm not doing Isle of Plenty. That's just like a bit of a reprise anyway at the end of the album to sort of tie it in with the Dancing with the Moonlit Night, sort of give it like a conceptual vibe, if you will. I have to go with More Fool Me. Sorry, Phil Collins. I love you so much. But yeah, just in terms of the other songs on this record, that one has to be my least favorite. stacked up against what it's up against, with the Battle of Epping Forest. I Know What I Like, Dancing with the Moonlit Night, The Cinema Show, so on and so forth. But yeah, of course, it's one time my guy Phil Collins gets the complete lead vocal on this. Sorry, Phil. It's still a great song. I really love it, actually. I saw Steve Hackett's band play it live a couple of times on the Selling England by the Pound tour about 6 years ago, and it was a real treat to see live. So, yeah, I can't say anything bad about it. It's just, on an album that's completely 10 out of 10, ranking the songs in a way, just, it's hard. But, yeah, that's probably my least favorite of this batch. Next up, this one is a pretty clear choice. This one didn't take a lot of thinking. It's The Waiting Room. Ultimately, hey, it's just a jam with a bunch of really weird, scary sound effects at the beginning of it. Somehow they figured that it would fit into the concept of the album. The story behind it is cool, where they were kind of sitting in a garage, jamming and recording, and there was some thunderstorms and stuff going on outside, or whatever the deal was. And they just recorded that really sort of scary piece, and then it kind of morphs into this jam at the end of it. But I've never sat down and decided I'm going to listen to The Waiting Room today. It's never happened. It happens in the context of the album, but I've never put it on just out of the blue like you would say with the title track or In the Cage. It's just, yeah, no. But still a fun experimental piece and enjoyable when listening through the album. But it's a mood piece for sure. The Waiting Room. And if I was to rank all the Genesis songs, that would be somewhere near the bottom as well. This one is a similar case to Selling England by the Pound, where there is no real clear choice for me as to what is the worst or least favorite song on this album. And so this would see the exit of Peter Gabriel, leaving them down to a 4-piece. So it's Steve Hackett, Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, and Phil Collins. Phil Collins steps up to the lead vocals here, and a great job he does. Excellent, one of the best singers of all time. And of course, this one was also signed by Steve Hackett. I've met him so many times. I love the guy. He's amazing. But yeah, there's not really any clear choices because I really, really enjoy this record, everything about it. And even though I am going with the title track, it is one that I would still reach to put on even outside of the context of the album. So while it might be the least best song on the album, it's still remarkable. It really is. It really is a great track. And, it's hard because some of these albums are so perfect that the worst song is still amazing. But we're going to get into a couple where the worst song is not so great, despite the fact that I love all the Genesis albums, even through the 80s, and we're going to get there soon. But yeah, The Trick of the Tail, title track, it's a great song. It's very poppy. But if I have to pick my least favorite from this album, it's got to be that one, despite the fact that I love it. It's just up against so much competition on that record, And the final one was Steve Hackett, so this is the final one that they would do as a 4-piece. This one is a clear choice. It has never been one of my favorite Genesis songs, despite being one of my favorite Genesis albums, Wind and Wuthering from 1977. On here you got the whole sweet piece that ends the album, In That Quiet Earth, Afterglow, with Unquiet Slumber for the Sleepers and that sort of thing. Blood on the Rooftops, amazing. 11th Earl of Mar, amazing. One for the Vine, amazing. What Gorilla, fantastic. I think it's fantastic. I know that one gets a bit of a weird reputation with some of the fans. I think it's great. But Your Own Special Way, it's okay. It's not a bad song, but it's also not a favorite for me. And that definitely puts it as the least favorite of this album for me. And there's I don't know, for you horror movie buffs out there, the album cover kind of reminds me of a scene in The Ring where she puts the tape in and she sees like a tree in the fog. And it's been a long time since I've seen it, but the first time I watched that movie, it's like, oh, that looks like Wind and Wuthering. Yeah. Anyway, the least favorite song on here for me is the love song, Your Own Special Way. It is still a really sweet song. It's just not one that I reach for in comparison to the others on this album. So, like I mentioned before, that's the final album of Genesis as a four-piece. So they would lose Steve Hackett. He would go off and do the solo career thing, which he's been doing for 50 years, amazingly so. And that would shorten them down to the trio of Phil Collins, Mike Rutherford, and Tony Banks. I love these albums. I really appreciate what Genesis did all throughout the 70s and 80s and the 90s. And so I'm not one of these where it's like, oh, I don't like this period of Genesis. I don't like that period of Genesis. I like it all, but there's a couple of songs that are not my favorite, and you've been seeing them here. So next up is an album that I genuinely love all the way through. So this was really hard to pick this. And then there were three. It was hard, but I was looking at the track listing on this going, I love all these songs. I even love the hit single, Follow You, Follow Me. But if I had to look at it in terms of how I would rank the songs, what would come in the lowest, it would either be Snowbound or Say It's Alright Joe. So I went with Say It's Alright Joe. Despite the fact that I really like the changes throughout the song, I like the moodiness of it, and I do put it on outside of the context of the album, and I do enjoy it very much. In terms of what else is on this record, it's probably my least favorite. Either that or Snowbound, but today I'm going Say It's Alright Joe. I'll probably kick myself for that later. Continuing on with Trio Genesis, we move into the 80s now. Of course, that was 1978. We move on to 1980. Phil Collins has a couple of unfortunate events happen in his life. And in the process of that, he's sad, rightfully so, with his wife leaving him and cheating on him, so on and so forth. And they regroup to make the Duke album. And all the while, he was writing songs that would end up on Face Value, which is an album that I think is amazing as well. This is one of the best Genesis albums. And this album is a 10 out of 10 for me, too. But if I had to pick one song that is... I wouldn't want to say it's a skip track, because I do enjoy listening to this album all the way through. I'd have to pick Please Don't Ask. Even though the mood and everything is just lovely. Well, it's sad, but it's beautiful in the same breath. Please Don't Ask is probably my least favorite song on this album. In comparison to everything else, you got the wonderful Heat Haze from Tony. You got Misunderstanding, Phil Collins writing them their first big top 20 hit. Turn It On Again, great song. Behind the Lines, Duchess, Duke's Travels and Duke's End. I mean, come on, excellent. But yeah, Please Don't Ask. It does fit the sort of idea and the vibe of the album, but for me, it's probably my least favorite on this record in particular, despite loving the whole thing. Okay, so this next one is them they're kind of transitioning into where they would go with the more pop-oriented sound, and this album was another step in that direction. 1981 saw the release of Abacab. I do like this record. I love all these records. But there's one song on this that I just don't have time for. I'd never listened to it on its own. It was funny to see it live on the Three Sides Live DVD. The only time I hear this song is to get through the album, and it is Who Done It. I understand why they did it. I understand that it was probably a record company thing, but more or less it was also them just kind of taking the piss out of the new wave stuff and things that was happening at the time. But it just... the drum sound is kind of cool. Other than that, I could do without it. It's one of the worst Genesis songs, absolutely. And intentionally so, it seems. But yeah, Who Done It for me. Despite loving the rest of the record. Moving on to 1983. Saw the release of the self-titled Shapes album. Otherwise, yeah, just called Genesis, right? I like this whole record. There's not really any songs on this that I don't like. Despite the fact that, yes, this is primarily a pop record that has progressive elements to it, right? But this is them kind of really sitting there going, okay, we're having some pop singles now. Nothing wrong with that. They're great pop writers, as is evident with a lot of the songs on here, like Mama, a hard rockin' tune. That's All, excellent. Then you get the prog brilliance of Home by the Sea and Second Home by the Sea. Silver Rainbow is excellent. Just a Job to Do. Taking It All Too Hard is kind of looking into that sort of ballady side of the band. Nothing wrong with it. And you know, it shows their sense of humor. And while I really like this song because it's fun and it's just a fun little tune, Illegal Alien. With that said, I like the song and it is good for a laugh. Absolutely, the lyrics in that are hilarious. But in comparison to everything else on this record, it's like comparing that to a song like Mama or even It's Gonna Get Better, it's kind of hard to do. And again, this was just them being sort of tongue-in-cheek, having a sense of humor, so it wasn't intended on being the best song on the album either. It's just them having a laugh. And hey, I enjoy it, but is it the best song on this album? No, it's probably my least favorite song on the album. Still, great. Great. And I might catch some flack for this, but I do like this album. And despite the fact that I don't typically love 80s pop, I do like the pop albums that Genesis did throughout this time. I love the Peter Gabriel solo albums. I love the Phil Collins solo albums that he did at the time. I really just think it's great music. And this album, you either love it or hate it. I love it. I like every song on this. Even the one that I'm mentioning, it's a bit of a syrupy sort of ballad, absolutely. But I like the song. I do listen to it outside of the concept of the album. Or outside of the context of the album, sorry. The song, it was actually a massive hit for them. It's a song called In Too Deep. It is definitely the least best song on this album, for sure. It's not really indicative of what Genesis sound like. Just as a whole, even if you buy this album and listen to the rest of it, it's not really indicative of their creative output, so to say. But it did get them a lot of money. I bet they're not complaining about it. But still, if you stack this song up against Land of Confusion or Tonight, 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 or even the big pop hit Invisible Touch or Domino or anything like that, it's not really in the same wheelhouse, despite the fact that it is a lovely song. But it's my least favorite on this album. It's the worst song on Invisible Touch. Then the last one, an album that has some hit or miss moments. Not a big fan of Hold on My Heart, but that used to be my least favorite Genesis song. But there's another song that has trumped it on this album. Album is We Can't Dance. I love the majority of this record. There's some really great songs that really bring in that oomph of their progginess that they never lost. With Driving the Last Spike, Dreaming While You Sleep, Fading Lights, pretty cool. But that song, Since I Lost You, oh my God. Just not good. The unfortunate thing is I know what it was about. I know that it was written for Phil's friend Eric Clapton, who had tragically lost his son, where he fell out of a window and passed away at like 5 years old or something like that. Absolutely horrible circumstances. But with horrible circumstances meets a horrible song. I'm sorry, it's not a good song. It's just I might listen to it in the context of the album, but I don't care for the song at all. But I do like enough of this album to have it mentioned on the list. So there we go. And this is a cool, actually. This isn't the reissue. This is a English 1991 British edition. Double LP vinyl, pretty cool. So from the beginning, you got from Nursery Cryme, 7 Stones. From Foxtrot, Timetable. From Selling England by the Pound, More Fool Me. Oh, sorry. From The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, The Waiting Room. From A Trick of the Tail is the title track. Oh, sorry again. Oh, Wind and Wuthering, Your Own Special Way. And then there were 3, Say It's All Right, Joe. Oh, sorry again. Duke, Please Don't Ask. Abacab, Who Done It? Not sorry. 1983, Illegal Alien. Sorry, because it is a funny tune. Invisible Touch, In Too Deep. It's an alright song. We Can't Dance, Since I Lost You. There it is, folks. My least favorite song from every Genesis album from 1971 to 1991. Now tell me, for all you Genesis fans out there in the comments, and I know you're there, what to you is the worst song or your least favorite song on every Genesis album? and even feel inclined to add your favorite song, if you will. Of course, that would be way too hard for me to do that, so I opted out of doing that. It's a lot easier to pick my least favorite, so to say. But yeah, and I still like a lot of these songs. I mean, a lot of the songs are great. It's just in comparison to what they're up against on the album, it's hard to say that they're anything better than some of those songs, you know? So it is what it is. This was a lot of fun to do this. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to see your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Brockway's Vinyl Bites. Rock on!